You're not in control of others, only yourself. It sounds simple, but most people live as if the opposite is true. They spend their time managing, reacting to, or obsessing over what someone else is doing, thinking, or feeling. It's a losing game. You can't control someone's perception. You can't make them respect you, love you, like you, or understand you. And the moment you begin to shape your life around trying to influence what's outside of your control, you lose control of the one thing that's yours. Control is not about dominance or manipulation. It's about ownership of your behavior, your thoughts, your habits, your response to pain, to failure, to discomfort. People will treat you unfairly. They will underestimate you. They will talk, gossip, project. That's on them. You can't spend your energy policing the outside world. What you can do is choose how you respond. You can choose to stay calm when you want to explode. You can choose to keep going when quitting feels easier. That's your real power, but it only shows up when you stop giving your energy away to the uncontrollables. Many people waste their time trying to correct others, change minds, or seek validation. They walk into rooms trying to raid everyone instead of owning who they are. You weren't put here to be universally understood. You were put here to be solid in your own skin. That doesn't come from outside approval, it comes from self-respect, from living in alignment with what you say you stand for. If someone lies about you, let them. If someone walks away from you, let them. Your responsibility is not to chase, convince, or prove. Your responsibility is to remain grounded. When you obsess over what others are doing, their pace, their wins, their mistakes, you pull focus from your own lane. You slow down, you start running their race instead of your own, and you forget. Every second you spend on someone else's behavior is a second you could be sharpening your own edge. You only get stronger by working on you. You only evolve when your focus is internal, not external. Your discipline, your mindset, your character, that's your job, not theirs. This mindset isn't just about confidence, it's about freedom. You become dangerous in the best way when you stop needing anything from anyone. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've stopped attaching your peace, your progress, your potential to someone else's behavior. You train your mind to stop flinching every time someone disappoints you. You stop personalizing things that have nothing to do with you. That's emotional maturity, that's strength. People will do what people do. They'll come and go, they'll talk, they'll misunderstand you. They'll act out of fear, ego, pride, but none of that is yours to carry. What is yours is how you show up, how you train, how you build, how you respond when it gets heavy. Comparison is a thief with a familiar face. It doesn't break in like a stranger. It shows up like a friend. You don't even realize it's robbing you because it's disguised as ambition, inspiration, or harmless observation. It looks like scrolling through someone else's life, measuring your pace against theirs, wondering if you're behind, wondering if you're doing enough, being enough. But behind every glance at someone else's progress is a moment stolen from your own. It starts small. You see someone winning, and instead of feeling motivated, you feel anxious. Instead of focusing on your own work, you start replaying theirs. You question your timing, your choices, your worth. And the worst part is, it's all internal. No one sees it happening, but it shifts your direction. You stop building what's yours and start chasing what you think you're supposed to have. You forget your lane. You mute your voice, all because comparison slid in quietly and whispered, "You're not there yet." The problem isn't that others are succeeding. The problem is that you're making their timeline the standard for your own. You're using someone else's highlight reel as a measuring stick for your behind the scenes. That's never going to add up. You don't see their struggle, their late nights, their failures, their compromises. You don't know what it cost them to get there. All you see is the result, and you use that as a weapon against your own self-worth. That's what comparison does. It doesn't push you forward, it pulls you out of alignment. What's dangerous is how normal it feels. It becomes a habit. You start looking around instead of looking within. You chase their version of success instead of defining your own. You start doing things for optics, not for meaning. That's how people lose themselves. That's how they end up building lives that look good but feel empty, because they weren't built from truth. They were built from competition, built from trying to match an image instead of owning their identity. Comparison thrives in distraction. The more distracted you are by everyone else, the less tuned in you are to yourself. Your energy goes to watching instead of working. Your confidence starts depending on being better than, instead of being true to. And that creates insecurity, not strength. Confidence isn't about being ahead of anyone. It's about not needing to look around in the first place. It's about being locked into your own mission so tightly that what someone else is doing doesn't shake you. The irony is, the person you're comparing yourself to is likely doing the same thing. Everyone's looking at everyone else. No one's really present. No one's really grounded. So the cycle continues. Everyone chasing, no one arriving. Because comparison doesn't reward you, it empties you. It keeps you in a loop where nothing feels like enough, where you always feel behind, where success tastes like relief instead of fulfillment. It turns every win into a question mark. Self-mastery is the highest discipline. It's not sexy, it's not loud, it doesn't post itself online, but it's the difference between people who talk about potential and people who live in it. You can have goals, ambition, intelligence, even talent, but if you can't control yourself, none of it matters. If your emotions run you, if your impulses lead you, if your mindset crumbles under pressure, you're not in control. You're reacting. You're not leading your life. You're chasing it. The world will hand you distractions. It will test your patience. It will tempt you with shortcuts. Self-mastery is what steps in and says no, not because you're scared to lose, but because you're focused on winning the right way. It's knowing when to shut your mouth, when to walk away, when to keep going even when nobody's clapping. Most people won't do that. They want discipline without discomfort. They want success without sacrifice. But self-mastery demands that you become uncomfortable on purpose. It asks you to delay gratification when everything in you wants it now. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about choosing the hard path over and over again, even when no one's watching. Can you stick to your plan when it's boring? Can you stay sharp when you're tired? Can you respond with logic when your emotions are screaming? That's what separates people. Not talent, not opportunity, discipline, internal control, the ability to regulate yourself in chaos, in silence, in uncertainty. That's mastery. People spend so much time trying to control others, trying to change them, manage them, get them to act differently. But real power starts when you realize you don't need to control anyone else if you can control yourself. You're not rattled by opinions, not triggered by nonsense, not swayed by ego. You can sit in discomfort without needing to escape it. You can stay grounded when things don't go your way. You can operate from principle, not pressure. That's a different level of strength, one that doesn't need validation to stand firm. Self-mastery is also about honesty. It forces you to face your own habits, your own excuses, your own patterns. You stop blaming, stop externalizing, and start taking full responsibility for how you show up. It's not about motivation, it's about standards. People with self-mastery don't wait until they feel like doing something. They do it because it's who they are, because their identity is built around their values, not their moods. And it's not something you just achieve, it's something you practice every day, in small, often invisible ways. waking up when you said you would, saying less when you want to react, finishing what you start, holding yourself accountable when no one else will. That's the work, not glamorous, not instant, but it builds something unshakable, not just results, but character, not just progress, but peace. Because when you master yourself, the world doesn't get to dictate how you move through it. Energy as currency. Spend it on you. Just like money, your energy is limited. You only get so much of it in a day, and where you choose to invest it determines what your life looks like. The problem is, most people spend it like it's unlimited. They give it away to arguments that don't matter, to people who drain them, to scrolling, gossip, overthinking, and rehashing the same story on a loop. Then they wonder why they're tired, stuck, frustrated, or unfulfilled. It's not a mystery. It's energy mismanagement. Your energy is your most powerful resource, more than time, more than money, because when your energy is focused and protected, you move differently. You think clearer, you make better decisions, you get things done, you build, grow, recover, create. But when it's scattered, when you're leaking it in 100 directions, even the best intentions collapse. No amount of planning or goal setting matters if you don't have the mental fuel to execute. People think burnout comes from doing too much, but often it comes from doing too much of what doesn't serve you. Conversations you don't need to have, emotions you haven't learned to regulate, situations you keep walking back into because you're too afraid to walk away. Every time you give energy to something unworthy of it, you're robbing yourself of the energy required to build what you say you want. That's a cost, and most people never count it until it's too late. Start noticing what drains you, who drains you, what habits leave you depleted versus what fills you back up. Pay attention to the patterns, what you tolerate, what you chase, what you react to. Every time you argue with someone who's committed to misunderstanding you, you're paying with energy. Every time you obsess over how you were perceived, every time you replay a conversation for the 10th time, every time you let someone else's opinion dictate your emotional state, you're handing over mental currency you could be spending on your growth. Energy spent on self. Doubt is energy you could have used to learn a new skill. Energy spent on drama is energy you could have used to strengthen your discipline. Energy spent trying to please people who will never be satisfied is energy that could have gone into becoming the strongest version of yourself. That's the exchange, and you're making it every day, whether you realize it or not. The truth is, focus is a form of self-respect. Guarding your energy is not selfish, it's necessary. If you keep putting yourself last on your own list, you'll keep showing up at half power. You'll keep wondering why you feel stuck when you've been giving the best of yourself to the worst situations. It's not about isolation or becoming hard. It's about intention, being deliberate about where your energy goes, being ruthless about your boundaries, being honest about who and what gets access to your space, your time, your thoughts. Your emotions, your goals don't need an audience. They need action. They need consistency. They need time, effort, and sacrifice, but they don't need applause, approval, or visibility. Too many people are chasing performance instead of progress. They want to be seen doing the work more than they actually want to do the work. They're building for attention, not for achievement. That's not ambition. That's ego. And ego will make you loud before you're ready. Ego wants credit before results. When your goals become public too early, they become vulnerable to external pressure. You start shaping your actions to match other people's expectations instead of your own standards. You start needing validation to keep going, and the moment that validation disappears, or worse, turns into criticism, you begin to question everything. You lose momentum, not because the goal wasn't right, but because your foundation wasn't solid. It was built on being seen, not being disciplined. Real growth happens in silence. You don't have to announce what you're working on. You don't have to post every step. You don't need to explain your vision to people who will never understand it. That's not secrecy, it's strategy. You protect what's important until it's strong enough to stand on its own. You build it quietly so you can own it fully, because the truth is, most people watching aren't supporting, they're judging, measuring, comparing, and the more attention you give to their reactions, the more disconnected you become from your own process. The loudest people are rarely the most effective. The ones who post every grind, every win, every plan, they're often trying to convince themselves. The ones you need to watch are the quiet ones, the disciplined ones. The ones who are too busy working to talk about how hard they're working, because they know the results will speak when it's time. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every step needs to be public. Some of your best moves will happen in silence. Your goal is not to impress anyone. Your goal is to become undeniable, and that doesn't come from likes, followers, or recognition. It comes from work. It comes from focus. It comes from doing what needs to be done when no one's watching. Because if you only move when someone's clapping, you're not chasing purpose. You're chasing attention, and attention fades, but discipline, that stays. That builds, that delivers. You don't need permission to start. You don't need support to continue. You don't need a stage to validate your mission. The real ones know the work always comes before the win. The process is what transforms you, not the audience. So stop leaking energy trying to be understood. Stop waiting for the perfect time to begin. Stop seeking credit before you've earned the outcome. Keep your head down, your mouth shut, and your standards high. People project their limitations. Don't borrow them. Just because someone can't see a path for themselves doesn't mean that path doesn't exist for you. But most people speak from their own fear, not from your potential. They'll tell you to be realistic because they've accepted less for themselves. They'll call your ambition too much because they stopped dreaming a long time ago. And if you're not careful, you'll start adopting their doubts like they're your own truth. This is how small thinking spreads. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up in side comments, in raised eyebrows, in the silent judgment when you talk about doing something bold, different, or difficult. It's subtle, and if you don't have a strong sense of who you are and what you're capable of, you'll internalize that noise. You'll start shrinking your vision to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You'll start second, guessing what you know you're built for. People aren't trying to sabotage you. Most of them don't even realize they're doing it. They're projecting. They're speaking from their past failures, their unhealed disappointments, their own unresolved fear of not being enough. They gave up on something, and now they don't want to see you chase it. Not because they hate you, but because it reminds them of what they didn't do. Your courage will trigger their insecurity. Your growth will expose their stagnation. Your success will challenge their story. And if you're not rooted in your own path, you'll start editing yourself, playing down your strengths, settling for what's safe. You'll convince yourself that maybe they're right, maybe you're reaching too far, maybe you should lower the bar. That's how borrowed limitations work. They disguise themselves as caution, as care, as just being honest. But what they're really doing is passing you the weight of their fear, hoping you'll carry it so they don't have to look at it. You have to learn how to separate advice from projection. Not everyone's opinion deserves space in your head. Listen to people who have done what you're trying to do. Listen to people who have taken risks, who have failed and gotten back up, who have done the inner work. Don't listen to the ones who have never left the sidelines but have something to say about the game. You don't need commentary from people who have never stepped into the arena. At every level, someone will try to hand you their limitations. That's impossible. No one makes it doing that. What if you fail? You're not ready. You should wait. They'll mask it as logic, as love, as concern. But you need to filter all of it. Ask yourself, does this person operate from fear or from strength? Are they expanding or contracting? Are they building or just talking? Don't let their ceiling become your blueprint. Don't let their fear become your language. Don't let their limitations become the lens you see yourself through.